So I'm going to do a quick run through of a new extension to take attendance in Google Meet. Okay, so this is just one of many extensions that you can get to do this purpose. The one I chose is the one that I sent you the link to. So before I go and look at that, just to show you the setup on the screen here, on the left hand side I have the teacher view of Google Classroom and I'm in a class, and on the right hand side I've got two students logged in. Okay, so I've got Steve Jobs here and Bill Gates. So what we're going to try and do is we're going to try and start a Google Meet and take the attendance automatically in this meeting. So to do that I need to add an extension to Google Chrome, and all of this has to be done from Google Chrome. Okay, so other web browsers won't work. So I follow the link that I provided in the email, which takes me to here, to this version of the Google Meet attendance, and I'm going to click on Add to Chrome. Get a warning and click Add Extension. And what you'll see is you'll see it appear up here in the top right once it's been installed and it's been added to Chrome. So that's it. Now I have the extension enabled. If I want to see the extension at all times, I can click this little icon that looks like a Lego piece or a jigsaw piece, find Google Meet attendance and click on the pin beside it, just so that it's always there. Okay, now that that job's done, I can return to my classroom and I can open the Google Meet link, and what will happen is straight away this new window will appear over my Google Meet. You'll notice that I haven't started the actual meeting yet. So before I do, I just want to go through a few things. I can close this dialog box and you can see the standard view. There are loads of options on this that you can go through yourself for advanced features and so on, but I'm just going to run through the basics. So under the settings button, you can see that there's loads of different things that we can choose. I personally would like to download a copy of the attendance for each class. So that's the generate reports. So I think it keeps a backup as well, but again, I wouldn't be overly confident in that. So instead of downloading both types of files each time I have a meeting, I'm just going to download HTML files, which are basically web pages. Everything else I'm going to leave the same, but again, you can go through them yourself. I'm going to close the settings and return back. Then under class list, I can see that I have no classes created at the moment, so I'm going to click on manage. Now it'll do this automatically for you if you wish, but just to be more organized about it, I'm going to create my own classes. So I'm going to add a new class, and this class I'm going to call my psychology class. Let's say 1A or something like that. And so I've saved that now and it's in there. Now as far as I can see, and I know this is still under construction, this app, but I don't know if you're able to delete this default class list. So I'm going to go with psychology class 1A. And of course I can add as many as I want there. I can rename classes and I can change kind of different things. I can upload old versions and clear the names and delete the entire class if I wish. So you might want to do some of that stuff while you're playing around with it. So again, I'm just going to close this dialog and return to the basic. And before I start the meeting, I select the class I want to use. Okay, so again, it will create a class for you if you wish automatically, but just for naming reasons, I'm going to select my own one. So now you can see the class name is there. I can add names manually if you follow this instruction, but rather than that, I'm going to let the system add the names for me. Okay, so enough explaining. I'm going to start the meeting now. So I'm just going to click join now. For the purposes of this demo, I have everything muted. So you can see that my meeting has now started. I've got no students in just yet, so everything looks the same. And just one small thing there, I can see that a new button has appeared down here in my taskbar, which just toggles the appearance of that screen. So if it's distracting, you can remove it. I'm going to leave it on just so you can see what's happening. So I'm now going to join the meeting, beg your pardon, as Bill Gates. Okay, so Bill's going to click on his meeting link here and join the class. Again, I'm just going to mute Bill and join now. So on the teacher screen, I can see that Bill has arrived. I can also see up here that Bill has now arrived and has been ticked as present. And if you hover your mouse over it, it tells you when he arrived, when he was last seen as being active. Okay, so it checks every couple of seconds to make sure that Bill's still there. And now I'm going to join the class as Steve Jobs. So So the second student is about to enter the class. And again, from the teacher's point of view, you can see that Steve Jobs now appears. And just while we're in the middle of the meeting, you can do things like, I like this little feature here. I've kind of got an interaction counter. So if you hover your mouse over, it says if you click, it adds 1 to a student. And if you hold shift and then click, it takes away 1. And if you hold control and click, it puts it back to 0. And I think the idea there is basically if Bill interacts with me, I can give him a wee tick there. And it's just a tracker for keeping count of how many times a student interacts during the course of a class. You may not want to use it. You may want to use it. It's up to you. There's also a little section here where you can edit the class and you can do all the usual stuff that you normally have access to. But for now, I am just going to stick to the basics. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove Bill Gates from the meeting. So Bill is going to hang up and leave. Okay. Now the meeting is still ongoing. It's just that Bill has left. And I'm going to just give it a couple of seconds. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave Steve in the meeting. And the reason for this is that when we're finished, you'll see a report generated that shows you how long each student actually spent in the meeting, which should be really useful in case students come in and leave early or so on and so forth. So now at this point, I'm just going to have Steve leave the meeting. So Steve has now left the meeting. And again, I am now going to hang up the meeting myself as the teacher. So I'm just going to leave the call. And straight away this window appears, okay? And what it's trying to do is save the file, okay? So my document, my HTML file, and you can see it's named the class there, and it's given the date of the meeting.html. Now, my computer's not going to look the exact same as all your computers, so I'm going to save mine to the desktop. Yours might be saved to downloads and so on. It might be automatically saved, but you'll find it there somewhere. Now, the report is downloaded to my local computer, which means it's not online, it's on my actual computer. And if I click on it there, it opens up a report for that class. You can see the time that the class started. As the time goes on, going to the right, you can see all sorts of information. You can see that Bill Gates joined in early. And if you delve down into it and put your mouse over it, you'll see times that he left and what time Steve Jobs left and so on. And you can read all the additional information. So this is now saved on your computer, so you can keep that or put it up in Google Drive for later reference if you wish. Just going to return back to my Google Meeting now. So you can see here's my little taskbar, and I can go ahead and the meeting has ended. I can do things like delete that class or edit the class, all kind of things. So you can have a play around with it. It kind of disappears then once you're not in Google Meet. You know, the extension is disabled effectively. And if I go back into the meeting, it should reappear automatically. And again, it's just important that you select the right class that you want to work in, so that it has that option. There are ways of adding students who haven't joined, so it shows you who's absent and stuff, but again, you can explore that yourself. And finally, the last thing I wanted to show you is just that if you are not a fan of this, actually, I'll show you two things. If you're not a fan, you want to remove it, you can just go up here to the icon, right click on it and remove from Chrome, and all traces of it and all records are deleted from Google Chrome. You'll still have any files that you downloaded, but everything else will be gone. And finally, the last thing I wanted to show you is that if I tick this little box here before the meeting starts, that will not take the attendance for this meeting. So for example, if you're having a staff meeting or if you're having a meeting with some colleagues, you may not want the attendance taken, you might not want to bother. You can just turn that on or off before you start your meeting. Okay, so hopefully this has been of some use to you. Again, you'll need to have a wee play around with it, but for now, that's an introduction to it.